It is March Madness time. The brackets were revealed Sunday evening. Now, 68 teams will be vying for a trip to the Final Four in Houston. The four #1 seeds are Kansas, Oregon, North Carolina, and Virginia. While they may be favorites, this time of year is all about the underdogs and the unexpected upsets. Before you fill out your own bracket, you may want a little extra help. I know I do. Adam Zucker is a studio host for CBS Sports Network. He'll be anchoring the network's coverage throughout the NCAA tournament, and that's, I think, today is all about the bracket and who you pick.
Oh, yeah.
I've always gone with the strategy of if I've lived somewhere or know someone who lives somewhere, that's how I do it. I know people like you are a little bit more precise.
Pretty good.
How are you filling things out?
Did you ever live in Wisconsin or Durham, North Carolina? Last year would have been good for you.
That would have been good. No, neither one. But Dunk City, the FGCU Eagles, I lived in Fort Myers, Florida. So a couple years ago, that was a fun run.
So if you were in one of those bracket deals where you get points times the seed, you did really well. So Florida Gulf Coast was the 15 seed to the Sweet 16.
Correct.
That would have worked out in your favor. I actually came in first and second in our in-house fund last year. No money on the line, unfortunately, of course.
That's too bad.
So now everyone thinks I have the answers. I don't. I don't. It's always crazy.
Well, isn't that kind of the fun of it? Like,
of course.
It's so unpredictable that, and every year it is. This year has been especially crazy within the NCAA. Do you think it's going to be even more nuts going into the tournament?
I don't think it can be more nuts than it was during the regular season. During the regular season, we had more top 5 teams lose to unranked teams than we've ever had before. We have more losses among the top seeds as a result than we've ever had before. I think it might level off a little bit. I don't know if it can match what we saw in the regular season. And part of the reason is a team like Monmouth isn't in the tournament.
Right.
That was the big snub.
It was a surprise.
I was surprised, and I went to Syracuse, and when I'm on my couch, I root for Syracuse. We all root for our schools, and when I'm in studio in a suit, I'm more objective, maybe even more critical. But Syracuse was a team who I would have willingly saw be omitted in favor of Monmouth. Maybe Vanderbilt could have stayed home, or Tulsa as well. But Monmouth was a team that beat UCLA when UCLA was on the verge of beating Kentucky. They beat USC. They beat Notre Dame. And then they go into their own conference, and they end up playing teams that don't get the certain rating number that the committee wants to see, and they end up left out.
So they're left out. Let's focus on the teams in it. Do you think this is finally a year? Well, we could talk about this all day if you wanted to. But for the teams that are in it, do you think this is the year that a 16 seed takes down a #1 seed when you're looking at your numbers?
I'm looking at the bracket, and the problem is that some of these 16 seeds weren't supposed to be in there to begin with. So Austin Peay is playing Kansas. The Governors, they were the 8th seed in their conference tournament. Holy Cross still has to play a game in Dayton, but they're the 16th seed. They were the 9th seed in the Patriot League. They hadn't won a road game all year until they went and won 4 straight road games to win the Patriot League to get into the tournament. So these teams that are 16 seeds, they're great stories on their own. There's even less of a chance, in my opinion, that we'll see that inevitable, some say, happen this year.
Well, that's, I think when you look at the first weekend, you always wonder, is there a top team that's not going to make it through that first weekend? Do you see someone on the bracket like that?
Well, Villanova's a 2 seed. They have not made it through the first weekend now the last couple years. They could face Temple in the second round, which would be an all-Philly matchup in Brooklyn. So that would be exciting and very frustrating for the Villanova fans. They don't want to deal with that, but maybe they'll face Iowa instead. So they kind of have that blemish on their recent record. I don't see Virginia or Michigan State as the 1 and the 2 in the Midwest. North Carolina should be okay the first weekend. But what's really interesting when you look at the top of the East, and this isn't answering your question directly, but it kind of just jumps off the page at me. The top half of one region has North Carolina, Indiana, and Kentucky.
Ooh.
You have 3 blue bloods who were the regular season champs or co-champs in their conference, all among those teams in that little corner of the world right there, among those 8 teams. That's crazy.
That is crazy. But like you said, it's been a crazy year.
Yeah, and Kansas has had trouble too. Remember the upset against Northern Iowa? So maybe UConn. My buddy John Rothstein down the hall, he likes to say January, February, UConn, April, May. And so UConn, they're hot right now. And maybe they're the ones who take down Kansas, who's won 14 straight and has looked unstoppable.
I feel like maybe this year I'll put the bracket up and just throw darts at it for what.
That works.
Really?
That can work.
Have you done that in the past?
No, because I think I'm smart enough, but I'm not.
We wanted to get your take. You are smart enough. A couple of interesting matchups. We were kind of geeking out about your bracket day in the newsroom today. Gonzaga.
Okay.
Okay. Last few tournaments, they're kind of these darlings that you look at, the smaller, whatever. They're taking on, though, a Seton Hall team who's been on a roll. What do you think is going to happen there?
It's interesting, too, because Gonzaga One of the first Cinderella stories of theirs was when they beat St. John's.
Right.
And St. John's had been sent out west as a 2 seed, and they got upset. And here's Seton Hall, the Big East champs, like St. John's had been, getting sent to altitude in Denver to go out there. And the other teams out there with Seton Hall are Utah and Fresno State. So it doesn't seem so fair. You know, Seton Hall fans are complaining, even though they just won the Big East championship and they're a 6 seed. Why are we a 6 seed? Why are we going out there?
Well, if you love your team, you always complain about it,
Of course. Kansas fans were complaining that they're in the South region. Louisville's actually closer to Lawrence than Chicago is, so they shouldn't be complaining. Seton Hall, I think, is on enough of a roll that Gonzaga shouldn't be a problem. The Bulldogs really needed to win the West Coast Conference Championship to get in, so I would go with the Hall there. But I also live like 15 minutes from campus.
So you're looking at that one. The 5 versus 12.
Okay.
Tricky matchup, right?
Always supposed to be, yep.
Right. Okay, so how about the Maryland Terrapins versus the South Dakota State Jackrabbits? Who do you like? I like the Jackrabbits just based on the name.
Based on the name. I mean, what's wrong with a little turtle, though?
I don't.
The Terps?
And it's the turtle versus the hare. I mean, it's like the perfect matchup.
Can I use that later?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a show from 4 to 6, so turtle versus hare. So I think Maryland's going to be okay.
Slow and steady, or?
Right. Slow and steady, even though they're not slow. They're steady. I would take Maryland. I think it's interesting in the 5-12 in the West region. It's a game in Providence, but Yale is the Ivy League champs.
Okay.
From New Haven to Providence is, I think, like under 2 hours. So Baylor, big mighty Baylor, is going to be coming up to Providence to face Yale, and it's going to be, nerd fest in Providence there. So I think that creates an interesting environment. I think Purdue will be okay with Little Rock. I think that Indiana might be a little bit of fool's gold. They were the Big Ten regular season champs, but they were perfect at home. And in the Big Ten, they now play an unbalanced schedule. And Chattanooga's pretty hot. So if I had to pick 1-12 seed, I would go with Chattanooga there.
All right. Well, this has been so fun. So thank you for coming on. I got to fill out my bracket. I haven't done it yet, but you've given me a lot of great information. Adam Zucker, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
You bet. You come on our show now.
I don't know if we want that to happen, but thank you.